We're here again to cut through the noise, take that fire hose of information on huge topics, and really distill it down for you. Today, we are strapping in. We're taking a hard look at, well, probably the biggest, fastest tech boom we've seen in ages, the AI surge. And we have to ask the big question, right, is this thing real? A sustainable revolution? Or are we just looking at a massive, energy-hungry bubble that's going to pop?
That's exactly the mission for you today. We've got the sources, and we're not just looking at the cool tech. No, we're digging into the financial weaknesses, the very real physical limits, and frankly, the big social risks sort of baked into this whole AI gold rush.
Yeah, and when you look at the money side, I mean, history kind of screams at you, but the scale now,
Yeah.
it's just completely different. We talk about bubbles, the dot-com crash in the late 90s, the telecom bust that followed. Cisco was the giant then. It peaked at maybe, 5% of the U.S. GDP market cap. Seemed huge.
Oh, it seemed absolutely insane back then. Now jump to today. Look at NVIDIA, the poster child for AI infrastructure. Its valuation, it's roughly 3 times that share of GDP, 3 times Cisco at its peak. We're talking like 7 or 8% of the entire S&P 500's value for one company. Over $160 billion in revenue, maybe $100 billion in pure profit. It's a titan built on computation's future.
It's gigantic, absolutely. But, a valuation like that usually implies, global reach, stability.
Yeah.
But the sources you provided, they point to this really scary concentration risk.
Yeah.
Like this giant on shaky ground.
That's exactly it. The stability, it's kind of an illusion when you look closer because the customer base and the geography, that's where the fragility is. Okay, so 80%. 80% of NVIDIA's massive sales come from just 6 companies. 6. A tiny group of hyperscalers, your Microsofts, Googles, Metas. If just 1 or 2 of them tap the brakes on spending, well, the whole revenue engine sputters.
Okay, so we're relying on 6 customers. That's a lot of risk right there. But you mentioned geography. That sounds even worse.
It is. It's the geopolitical dimension. Half of those crucial buyers, the ones footing the bill for this global build-out, they themselves depend heavily on infrastructure in Taiwan. The whole chain from TSMC making the chips to the servers being installed, it all hinges on the stability of that one island. Think about it. One serious geopolitical event or, even a major earthquake, this whole AI boom narrative could unravel incredibly fast.
Hang on. If that risk is so obvious, surely analysts see it, why aren't these hyperscalers spreading their bets, diversifying their spending like mad? Are they just that desperate for chips right now?
Well, yes, they are desperate. They're caught in this huge infrastructure arms race. It feels like winner take all. And that leads us straight to the capital expenditure, the CapEx. It's astronomical. These hyperscalers, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they're dumping 50 to 70% of their entire earnings into building data centers, just trying to keep pace.
50 to 70%. That's sacrificing today for tomorrow on a massive scale.
It really is. And if you add up all the planned spending globally, chips, fiber, data centers, cooling systems, everything, some forecasts are talking about maybe $7 trillion. $7 trillion of infrastructure investment by 2030.
$7 trillion. It's hard to even wrap your head around a number that big. What does that even compare to?
Well, put it this way. That $7 trillion figure, it's roughly a third of the entire U.S. money supply. We're talking about fundamentally replumbing a huge chunk of the global economy.
Okay, but here's where I get stuck. $7 trillion. Where's the money actually coming from to support that? What's the underlying revenue stream funding this scale?
That's the core problem, isn't it? The fundamental math challenge. See, this enormous build-out, it's mostly financed by, projections of future ad revenue and current cloud subscription fees. But look at the history. Global advertising spending, it's been stuck, really reliably stuck at around 2% of global GDP for a century.
2%. So it didn't magically grow exponentially with the internet or anything?
Exactly. The whole AI boom business model seems to require ad spending to suddenly break that century-long trend and grow exponentially, which seems unlikely. The math only works if, those little banner ads suddenly start paying for trillion-dollar supercomputers. The funding source is shaky, very shaky.
So, okay. We've got huge concentration risk, both customers and geography. We've got a funding model that seems optimistic, shall we say, relying on ads. And even if the money did magically appear, then we hit actual physical walls, the hard limits. Let's talk about that energy wall. Data centers are already pulling, what, 4 or 5% of U.S. power and heading towards double that.
Yes, and this is where the sort of financial fantasy crashes into physics hard. You just can't wish new power plants into existence overnight. It takes years, decades sometimes. The AI build-out isn't just about chips. It's hitting real energy constraints. We're already seeing data centers causing, like, localized energy crunches.
Yeah, can you give us an example, something concrete from the sources on how this is hitting the grid?
Yeah, the inflation impact is pretty stark. Sources mention wholesale electricity rates near these big data center hubs. They're up almost 270% in just 5 years. That's not just, market fluctuations. That's a direct result. It hits utilities, it hits other businesses, it hits homeowners.
Wow, 270%. That's incredible pressure.
And it's not just generating the power, is it? It's also moving it around, the grid itself.
Precisely. We're running into major bottlenecks getting the actual electrical gear, especially those huge specialized transformers needed for high voltage transmission. Companies like Schneider Electric, they're global leaders in this stuff.
Yeah.
Reports say they're booked solid for years. You literally can't get the equipment fast enough. So this boon is limited by actual physical infrastructure, by physics, not just software code.
This sounds so familiar, though. It's like the telecom bubble all over again, isn't it? Laying down tons of fiber optic cable everywhere, assuming infinite demand would just show up. We're building the digital factories before we know if anyone will pay enough for the products. It's potentially the same pattern, yeah, but on a, $7 trillion scale this time. And it gets even more worrying when you look at who's actually making money from the AI services themselves.
Right. Let's get into those broken economics.
Yeah.
You said only 2 players are really profitable right now. Who are they, and what's happening with everyone else?
So the only ones consistently in the black right now, NVIDIA selling the picks and shovels, basically, and TSMC, the foundry, actually making the most advanced chips. Pretty much everyone else. The big AI model companies, the cloud providers running those models for customers, they're actually losing billions of dollars. It comes down to this core cost-to-run problem.
Explain that cost-to-run thing, because it sounds like maybe the worst business model ever.
Well, it's kind of like the old gym membership joke, right? The gym only makes money if you sign up but don't actually go very often.
Mm-hmm.
With these AI models, every time a user makes a complex request, it costs the provider a significant amount in computation. So if you're paying, say, $20 a month for your subscription, but you use the AI heavily, that provider might actually be losing money on you.
Yeah.
Which leads to throttling, usage caps. They almost don't want you to use the powerful service you paid for too much.
Because the product is almost too expensive to operate relative to what people pay.
Okay, wow. And this ties into what the sources called the circular money loop, which sounds a bit like financial magic, an infinite money glitch. How does this actually work to boost stock prices? Yeah, it's a bit dizzying. It's essentially promises built on top of promises, fueled by projected spending. Here's how it seems to work. An AI startup, let's call it AICO, needs a ton of computing power but doesn't have the cash up front. So they go to a big cloud provider, Cloud Corp, and sign a massive contract promising to spend, say, billions over the next 5 years. Now, Cloud Corp, the cloud provider, books that future promise as revenue right now instantly. Their revenue numbers jump, their stock likely surges, even though no actual cash from an end customer has changed hands for that future service. Exactly. Now, how does AICO pay for the hardware from, say, NVIDIA to even run the models on Cloud Corp's platform eventually? Often it's with borrowed money or even vendor financing, sometimes facilitated by the hardware maker itself, like NVIDIA.
AICO gets chips financed by NVIDIA, perhaps, promises future spending to Cloud Corp. Cloud Corp books it as revenue now. Cloud Corp's stock goes up. It sounds like a house of cards.
It's very much like that. Revenue and profit that exists primarily on paper, based on vendor credit and future commitments. The hardware maker finances the sale. The cloud provider gets rewarded by the stock market for a promise of future business from a company using finance hardware. If any piece falters, if AICO finds its models are too expensive to run profitably, or if that projected ad revenue never shows up, the whole thing could unwind very, very quickly. It's fragile.
That's the shaky financial ground.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears to the last piece, which has maybe even broader implications. The societal side, the cognitive risk. If AI becomes this cheap and widespread this fast, what does that do to human skills, to expertise?
Well, we're definitely seeing a productivity boom. That's real. Your average freelancer, a designer, a writer, a coder can use these tools to produce work that's, frankly, exceptional, near professional quality. It's raising the baseline, the average quality across the board. That part's democratizing, potentially good.
But the flip side of everyone getting better isn't just improvement. It's
Yeah.
way more competition, right?
Yeah.
Oversupply.
Precisely. The sources highlighted examples like design contests. Ones that used to get maybe 100 entries are now flooded with 700 or more. So yes, the quality floor rises, but the competition just explodes. And then there's the deeper social effect, this idea of cognitive erosion.
Kind of like outsourcing our thinking, our intellectual effort.
Something like that. It's blurring the line between real expertise earned through effort and experience and just surface level knowledge. You get more people who think they're experts because an AI gave them a very polished answer instantly with no context or depth. It's been called the Dunning-Kruger effect on steroids. Confidence shoots up because getting the answer felt effortless, but the actual understanding isn't there to back it up. People who use AI to augment their own thinking will likely thrive. Those who just outsource all their thinking, they might really struggle.
And woven into all this, we have the leaders of these massive AI companies. They almost have to be incredible storytellers to justify these valuations, don't they? Our sources suggest we need to be pretty skeptical about their stated goals versus maybe the underlying mechanisms.
Absolutely. When your company is worth hundreds of billions or even trillions, you need a narrative. A powerful story that says the future you're selling isn't just profitable, it's revolutionary, it's inevitable, maybe even utopian. Look at things like the push for universal digital IDs online. Often it's framed very virtuously, we need this to protect children online. And while that goal sounds laudable, the mechanism could lead directly to mandatory ID for almost everything you do online, a fundamental shift away from anonymity and towards surveillance. So you have to watch not just the tech, but the regulations and systems they advocate for very closely. What are the second and third order effects?
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up for you. We've traced this path from fragile finances built on promises and vendor credit, through hard physical limits like energy grids and transformer supplies, all the way to these big societal shifts driven by, well, master storytellers at the helm of billion-dollar companies.
Yeah, my final take is this. The core AI technology, it's genuinely remarkable. It is transformative, no doubt about that. But the ecosystem that's sprung up around it right now, it seems built on incredibly shaky economics, real physical constraints that aren't being fully acknowledged, and frankly, a lot of hype and storytelling. This massive spending spree is fueled more by optimism, I think, than by current sustainable cash flow. Reality has a way of catching up. Either a truly revolutionary new revenue stream needs to appear, or, well, a major correction seems likely.
So it's this giant ongoing experiment, isn't it? The tech, the money, the ethics, the politics. It's all tangled together in a way we've never really seen before. And that leaves you with a final thought to chew on. We've got these two powerful forces pushing against each other. On one side, you have the incredibly compelling stories, the narratives spun by industry leaders. On the other, you have the cold, hard laws of physics and accounting. Which force do you think ultimately wins out? Which one dictates where this AI surge actually ends up? That's something to keep thinking about until our next deep dive.